Well, thanks a lot for this kind invitation, and I'm really happy to be part of this event. I'm sorry that I cannot be there on site. Hopefully next time it works out. But nevertheless, I want to take the opportunity, of course, and be part of it. When I was preparing for this presentation, I realized that it's actually not the usual presentation that I'm used to give. So usually I talk to investors or politicians and tell them how great our technology is, the technology that we are building, and how bright the future of our company will be, and why they should invest in us and support us. But today, actually, I think it's more the other way around, because I want to tell you how great your technology is and will be, the potential that you have. And I want to use quantum as an example, maybe as a little bit of inspiration also on how it can be done from the Ukraine. So this was a little bit special for me, and I tried actually to prepare myself a little bit also and look into what is happening, and I do believe that there is a really bright future for Ukraine on the technology side now and in the future, really to be an independent and very, very strong player in the field. I called this presentation here Quantum for Good, which may sound maybe a little bit, let's say, simplified or so, and there are actually two angles to it. One of it is the applications of quantum computing, and some of you may know that there are many applications, for example, in the field of pharmaceutical development, discovery of new drugs, new materials, battery development. We just had the topic. So there are a lot of those applications actually where with this new technology, you can really make a disruptive step and do something good for society and for mankind. And I think this is the driver of most of the people in the field, really develop the technology to make this planet a better place. But actually, I want to give it a slightly different twist, because quantum also still means the future. We are not there yet. The industry is just getting started. And this is also why I think for Ukraine and the ecosystem actually it's a great opportunity, because you can be part of building the future together with us. And I think from this perspective, it is actually a great opportunity to grow tech ecosystems locally, but then also more widely on a global scale. And I want to use the opportunity today to just tell you a little bit about our story, how we did it, and how I hope that maybe in the future also the tech ecosystem from the Ukraine can be a very vital part of it. No, the slides don't move. Let me check. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I have been summarizing a little bit, actually, from a perspective of quantum technology, what is going on already now. And actually, there is a great history in quantum. So just, for example, if you look at the scientific side, so Ukrainian quantum institutes are among the best in the world. And actually, there are many great names out there, quantum physicists, who have made very, very strong contributions. So there is a tremendously strong background on the academic and the scientific side. Just to give you one example, is the center at KIPT, National Science Center in Kharkiv, where actually a lot of research is going on, in particular in the field of quantum field theory, which is really the fundamentals of quantum. So there is really a very, very strong foundation to develop further all the technology that can build on this fundamental field of quantum field theory. Actually, some of the, let's say, founders of the field come from the Ukraine. So in 1930, they have been formulating the theory for it. So there is actually a very strong background in quantum on the scientific side. But then, of course, also, if you look more towards the technology side, there are non-scientific, non-academic institutions and a lot of tech companies, as you know, who are having an interest in quantum and quantum industry, and especially the applications. For example, the topic of energy, grid stabilization, all of those topics where quantum computers actually might have a very, very big impact. Just to give you one example, there are several companies but there is, for example, a collaboration between the university and the company SoftServe, which actually resulted in a bachelor's program. So there is a lot of also fundamental work going on in terms of education, which is super important because talent is what we need. And I think talent is also what you have a lot in the Ukraine. So I think from this perspective, there's a lot to give also for the future in developing this further. And this has been done, of course, within the Ukraine, but then also, of course, bringing it outside and working globally on these topics. And I think from this perspective, actually, there is really a strong foundation to develop further. If you look at it more from an innovation point of view and startup, actually also there are great examples. I just picked here two of them of startups which have a very strong Ukrainian touch. And of course, the hope is that there will be many more of those in the future. And I will come to this at the end of my presentation. But I think from this perspective, we can really see there are some tractions. And of course, also there are actually many Ukrainians who work around the world in startups. So just as an example, in our case, actually, we have quite a few of them. And for me, let's say the vision and the hope would be that maybe at some point also they will be founders of companies, maybe in the Ukraine, and then we can collaborate further with them. So from this perspective, you see, actually it is really already there. We just now need to be able to scale it to create many more of those examples for the future. And how do you create those? And this brings me a little bit to our story. Maybe some of you might think, oh, to create a quantum startup, it's nearly impossible. You need all of this technology and money and all of this. But actually, that's not always the case. Even in our example, where we are building hardware, we started very simple, just with a few people who had some ideas, and of course they created the innovation. And also, if you look at the very beginning, so on the pictures on the left-hand side, actually, so this is how we started. We just put there a few of these wooden racks, and this was the kind of opening ceremony for our company. So you can really start even something very sophisticated like quantum from the scratch. And we put actually our labs in the early days into our offices. So we didn't even have lab space because we didn't have the money and it was not available. So we built actually the very first prototypes in our offices. So I think from this perspective, I can encourage everyone just to kind of be brave enough and give it a try. And out of it, in our case, actually came something quite big already. There are two reasons I want to show the slide, not to advertise our company, but actually you see we are already active in quite a few countries around the world, many of them in Europe. And as mentioned earlier, of course, my hope is that at some point also we will have then a Ukrainian city on this list, and we will have then operations and activities there. The second reason I wanted to show the slide is actually the picture on the bottom where you see the EIB president, Werner Hoyer, and the vice president. They came to visit us once in our headquarters because they supported us very strongly financially. And I had the opportunity to talk to him a bit in private. And the way he was talking about the situation in the Ukraine and the way that Europe wants to position itself there actually encouraged me quite a lot. So he was really willing to help with everything that the European Investment Bank can, I think, to support also then the Ukraine and in building it up. So I think from this perspective, actually for me, this was an eye-opening moment that I also just wanted to share here with you to show that actually there is really a very strong support in the background on the Commission level and on the European level. So how did it all start? How did it all work? I just want to give you a little bit of perspective on how we have started the company and try to find touch points on where I think we can see some examples how it can be done actually in a very simple way. So I myself, I'm a scientist. I did my PhD in quantum physics in Munich. So you see some pictures there. And back then, always my idea was actually to stay more on the academic side and maybe become a professor at some point. But then it turned out differently. And one of the reasons was that at some point, actually, I decided to do a postdoc at Aalto University in Finland, far up in the north. And there, actually, I was working in the group UCD Labs, where the mindset was actually very, very innovative. And we were actually really thinking about, okay, how can basic science, basic technology be applied more from an industrial point of view? And these ideas, actually, they led really to the foundations of the company. So really coming out of science, but then having a big dream. And I think this is what it is all about when you start a company. You need to have a vision for the future, how you're going to build something, how you build something big. And then, of course, you need to be able to articulate this dream and convince people to follow you and support you on the way. But you don't need a lot for it. So in our case, actually, these are the labs inside of the university. And the way we were telling actually that there is something real, that there is a company, is we just put a sign there on the door that you see here. We called it IQM Nest. And this was our proof that there is actually something in the background, the company that we are building. So this was, in a sense, the first investment into the company was just this wooden sign on the door, and the story that we are telling and that we were telling to people who visited us and who we tried to convince to support us in the future. So one of those people was Risto Siilasmaa. He's a business angel in Finland, quite well known there, former chairman of Nokia. And what you see here, actually, this picture in the middle, this is the very first business plan of IQM. So you see it's just handwritten on a piece of paper. It shows actually that it's really just about the people and the ideas, and of course maybe some estimates that you can do on a piece of paper. So you see from these very simple calculations on this piece of paper, we concluded that we need maybe roughly 11.7 million to get our plans started, and this is then what we raised. But it really all started with a few people, with their ideas, and then a piece of paper and some numbers. And we were still not sure, actually, whether we were supposed or whether we should go for the fundraising or not. And then we had another supporter coming to us and really encouraged us, hey, you should really do something. This was Ilyas Khan, and he said, hey, my friends just got 50 million for their startup. Quantum is going vital. So from this perspective, it was really us as scientists there locally, and then people who came from the outside and encouraged us to do us. And in this positive mood and in this positive momentum, we decided, okay, let's give it a try. Let's go out there and do fundraising. So to do fundraising, we needed a much more detailed plan. And actually, this is the much more detailed plan that you see here. So again, you see it's just a handwritten piece of paper. It was done in a location that's called Hoplop. The reason we went there actually is because it's a kind of amusement park for kids, and from our four founders actually there are quite many kids, so we needed a place where during the weekend where we were making these plans where the kids actually could be there. So we were then it shows we were just sitting around the table brainstorming these ideas, having a piece of paper, and then making these plans on how we are going actually to do it with the company. And what came out was really this idea that we want to build a company with a very, very strong mission statement and really take here the opportunity to build something out of Europe, something very, very strong out of Europe, which can then compete on a global level in a race for quantum computing. So you see there the mission statement that we have. We build world-leading quantum computers for the well-being of humankind now and for the future. And it connects a little bit back to the title of the presentation. So this is really what is driving us. We want to use the technology to do something good with it, and this is actually also what is driving our people. This is I always try to emphasize this people aspect, because in the end it's all about the people, their ideas, and their motivation to drive something forward. And this mission statement, actually, it's the reason why many of our great employees actually join us, because they are somewhat encouraged by it and motivated and inspired to join a company with such kind of a purpose. But of course, in the end, still you need money to do something. I'm actually thinking that much more can be done also to support the Ukrainian tech ecosystem. But I think here just one example of something that I find very great. It's an initiative by the European Innovation Council. And I'm actually also very proud and humbled to have been asked to be part of the advisory group for this initiative. So for me, this is just the beginning. 200 startups who get 60,000 euro each. But I think it is a first move in the right direction, and I'm quite sure actually that much more will follow in the future also then to really strengthen and scale and grow the Ukrainian tech ecosystem. So with this, I'm coming to an end of my presentation. So as said, I'm really thankful to be part of your event today. I'm really thankful actually for the whole of Ukraine, what you're doing at the moment. I think it's tremendously outstanding. We all know that you're fighting for the European values, and I'm really thankful for everything that's going on. And I try to support in the background as much as I can with my limited resources, all your activities. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much.